Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings forward the social and political issues that are important to people living here in the Pacific Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
Welcome again to this segment of the Oregon Voters Digest. I'm Bruce Broussard, your host. And let's just get right down to business here. I want to make sure that I communicate to you about the fact that we're having all sorts of issues today. Please, politics. Stay focused. It's about you. You can't deal in that area. You got to vote. You already voted. Now you have to live with whoever's sitting in those seats. And I won't sit around and talk about that seat because I've been there many times over about not being in that seat. You've seen my name. I've run for office. Every office in the state of Oregon, for that matter. I'm still sitting outside because there are major issues. We got issues right now. And I want you to stay focused. And being, in all due respect, we've been talking about Oregon. We've been talking about Portland, Oregon, for that matter. And I've been spending quite a bit of time in that particular area. Again, trying to focus on some of the issues that are there. Trust me. Take it easy. I'll handle it. No problem. I've done politics. If you want to check some of the political stuff that I've done in the past, go to YouTube, check it out. But stay focused on some of the things that we need to do today. And as you know, I made the point early on that I'm now going to be focused on seniors. I want to be focused on seniors in coming months, in coming days, in coming hours, in coming minutes. It's very important. You're all going to be there, by the way. It's not about just young people. It's the fact of the matter is young people are going to be old people at some point in time. And trust me, this system always worked. But for some strange reason, we've sort of kind of like gotten out of that situation. And so we got to make sure we're dealing in a situation where it communicates where we need to be. And it should be basically seniors first with the young people right there. No problem. That's your base to develop your lane. So with that, I'm saying a lot of things just to say that it doesn't get too confused once I get into the show. But I've got so much on my mind right now that sometimes I have to take a second or two to say a couple of things. But anyway, we're doing great. Okay. So today, what we're going to do is that we're going to talk about the whole issue of your living conditions, real estate, where you're living. Do you have a roof over your head? And they're talking about the homeless constantly on an ongoing basis. Again, we're talking about, a place to live. But what about the people who are already living in their homes, who are being displaced? And in many cases, they're seniors. And many, in all due respect, families involved in that deal because the kids and folks like that are basically trying to get their parents to refinance. And if you have death in the family, all of a sudden that becomes an issue. People are moving out of their homes. They wouldn't want to move out of their homes, but they're moving out of their homes. Then there are people trying to look for homes, can't find a home. But so it's a problem with the whole real estate issue aspect of it. So what I thought I'd do is that I'd bring in that focus lane aspect of it, is that we need to kind of get a better feel of what is the real estate doing around us individually, or as a group, or as a community. The problem with real estate. So I brought in a kind of a specialist this time around that she has quite a lane, and she's of that age factor that we fall kind of like in the same category aspect of it, and that's good because she's got experience. She has a lane. Her lane is real estate, and naturally I'm particularly interested in the senior citizen aspect of it because I am one, and I'm looking at my situation. As I indicated before, personally, I'm saying, hey, I'm at that point in my life. I need to know what real estate is all about because I got to make sure that I got a roof over my head, and I be a part of that community. I don't want to move out of my home, like many seniors in that particular case. Some can and some can't. Okay, but some are forced. The majority of us are being forced to get out of our homes at this point in time. So, but to begin with, I want to make sure we stay focused, but what we're going to do now in general, to the general public across the board, seniors and everybody, we want to spend a little time about real estate here in the city of Portland and where we're sitting up here residing today. And then we'll get into more specifics as far as seniors are concerned, and other groups, and even groups that are not, if you haven't reached that age at this point in time. We'll talk about all the various areas, but the lane I want to stay in, what we want to talk about right now is generally real estate. Its availability, can you afford it, that situation and whatever. A place, a roof over your head. So with that, I've got a guest here. Her name is Rachel Hemmingson. She lists herself as senior real estate specialist, but she's a real estate specialist. She's got background across the board. That's a topic we're going to talk at length in another situation. If we have a little time, we might let her share a bit. But right now, I'm interested too, and I'm sure the politics of real estate and everything else. Welcome aboard, Rachel.
Thanks a bunch. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh,
I appreciate it, and I'm already enjoying myself.
Oh, but this has been great. This has been great.
Yeah.
So please let's just get right into it.
Okay.
What do you think about the politics of real estate right now, as far as Portland, Oregon is concerned? People are talking about. Sometimes people will hear things like availability of real estate is going too high, is going low, is going. I mean, let's just talk in general.
Right.
About real estate. But before you get into that piece, let's give the viewing audience a little background about how you got to this particular business.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Sounds good?
Sure. Well, first of all, I was a sheep farmer. I think it's important to know that I'm really good at herding sheep.
Sheep. Oh,
It's totally irrelevant and totally pertinent at the same time. So, I got into real estate in 2004. I had a good friend who was kind of born into real estate, and she wanted a partner. And I came into it, and I thought, I don't know, real estate, However, I discovered that I really liked educating people. I liked hand-holding. I was good at helping people find what they needed. I was good at calming everybody down and negotiating. But I wasn't real satisfied, and so I heard of the seniors real estate specialty. It was not a certification that was available in the state of Oregon. It was in it was in Idaho, and it was in California. So I trotted over to my manager and said, "Can we get this?" And he picked up the phone and said, "Yes, we can." And I was in the very first class. And so I became certified, either it was the very beginning of 2006 or the end of 2005, and I've worked like that ever since. So I've also done a lot of kinds of real estate. I've worked with people of all ages and stages. But what I like most, what I love most, is working with older adults, and I am one. I don't know how that happened, but there you go.
I don't think you are. but before you get into that piece, now that we've got that, we know that you're there and established and whatever. But what about the politics of real estate?
Okay.
Now? What do you hear about politics of real estate? Is property going up? Is it going down?
Well, I mean, that's a big
right
question.
Now in Portland, let's say in the Portland market.
Right. So when you ask me personally about the politics of real estate, I'm going to say a couple things.
Okay.
For people living their lives needing homes, it's not real estate. It's your home. Okay. It's housing. It's shelter, and it's also investment. And I don't mean investment like let's make a bunch of money. I mean like leave something for my children. That kind of investment. So the politics of real estate for me, first of all, the whole thing is off. It's all about sort of the commodity of housing. But for the rest of that conversation, for sort of the general population conversation about politics, there's a number of things. Housing prices have been flattening out and going down a little bit at sort of the bottom third and the 2/3 of the housing that are kind of moving. Prices have been dropping a little bit. Across the board, across the nation, something like 41% of prices come out and drop. And a pretty substantial, actually it's more, like 56%, are dropping their prices. And then something like 41% are withdrawing their listings from the market altogether. They're like, we can't get enough money, we're just not going to sell. So that's, I think, an interesting statistic. So prices are down a little bit, but they're still largely unaffordable. That's the political conversation. You're still in a situation where, I get data all the time showing there are 3 major cities in the entire nation where people making the average median income can afford a home with 2 people buying. So housing affordability is absurdly high. It's way off from wages and cost of living, because it isn't just wages, it's what everything else costs. So what I'm liking is that our current leadership in this city are starting to talk really seriously, not just talk, but take some actions. Not just about the homeless issue, which is gigantic.
Yeah, I'm going to throw that in there, by the way.
Yeah, and it's immense, but it's a kind of a horse of a different color. But just about everybody's affordability, like people who have homes, but now their property taxes and insurance are forcing them out of their homes, are forcing them to not to know what to do. And as I think you mentioned just a little bit, what can I afford to buy?
Yeah.
How can I keep some funds for retirement, if you want to call it that? Maybe it's just living. You know, how can I so what do you do? And so I have a lot of ideas about that, but that's kind of the environment. Prices are down a little bit. Some of that's good. It means a little more affordability. We're seeing an increase in unrelated friends figuring out how to buy. I think that's an extraordinarily good idea. I think there's huge potential of older adults sitting in large houses that they can't keep up and can't utilize, actually bringing other people into the property. That's a whole conversation we could have,
right.
not as renters and landlords, because that's scary,
right.
especially in Portland. Pain in the butt.
But let me go another point
Yes,
in regards
please.
to, you had made mention about the homeless piece.
Yes.
And people tend to get a little confused about home ownership for homeless
Right.
and home ownership for the individuals
Yep.
and home ownership for seniors.
Yes,
And
okay.
I put the individuals in there because they're the middle class.
Yes.
But the fact of the matter is that this, and the politics are such that if taxes go up on homes quite a bit, on seniors, on everybody for that matter, and a lot of times that money is diverted over here in a confusing way. They never talk about it that way to the homeless. You know, and I'm throwing it out. I'm just throwing this out. In one case, I think the homeless, it's a sheltering situation.
Right.
It's not home ownership.
Not at all.
It's shelter.
Right.
Something over your head.
Yes,
and then
it
naturally
is.
the tarps, you think about tarps, you see people just this, and that. So there's, but for some reason, it got in sort of a political kind of a deal. And people don't really understand the difference.
It's way different.
Okay, back for you to share that a bit. You've
Yeah.
been out there looking at that stuff.
Oh, yeah. I live in Lentz, Portland, Oregon.
okay.
There's a lot of, in every day,
Right.
like many of us, depending on what part of town you're in, I'm facing people who have no homes other than a tent.
Right. RV, all that kind of stuff.
RVs, a lot of
Yeah,
RVs
yeah,
in my neighborhood. So,
Let's talk a little bit about that.
right. Well, the first thing I'd like to say about it personally is that I can't imagine having found yourself living that life to think about buying a home, which is out of reach of young people who are able-bodied and working hard and have degrees. You know, and people of all ages who can't buy a house or couldn't possibly buy a house without help from their parents, which is almost all of the purchases of young people in the last few years. They had help.
They need to know that.
Yeah, they
need-
had help.
need to know
That's
that.
how they were able to do it.
Exactly. Okay.
Almost to a one, almost to a number. So you've got people who are trying to live each day with whatever issues they have, which are many. That's not about home ownership at all. It is about shelter. It's about treatment and care and shelter and, you know, helping people at least find their way to be working and renting, for goodness sake. If they can buy someday, hallelujah. But that's a separate consideration. And it does need to be funded. These are not people who can just go to work. They can't. You know, most of them can't, I think. I believe that personally. So then you're looking at people who have houses and are barely hanging on to them, or whose house puts them in jeopardy physically, which is partly why I'm so happy that my friend Kelly sitting over here got me into this, because with adaptable abodes, to look at helping people stay home.
Right.
And that's partly why I've worked for a while. We can talk another time about in financing to help people pay for it. But so there's the issue of I have a house. Does it work for me financially? Socially? Am I near anybody I care about? Am I near my kids? Am I near my church? Does it work for me in terms of maintenance? So that's a whole issue. And then there's how do you buy? So I'm getting a little out in the
This is
weeds
good.
here.
Yeah,
so.
right. This is good.
Okay.
Because this is a very important piece. Because
It's big.
as you know, the politics now, that's where we are now.
Right.
You know, when the legislature's meeting, these are all the elected officials and whatever.
Yep.
And you hear this big thing about, well, we need more housing.
Yeah.
Well, then naturally, the developers, the builders, are saying yes.
Yes, that's right.
You know, and how do they fit? You see, but then on the other side of the coin is that, hey, we got this homeless situation here.
Yeah.
They need more shelter.
Right, they do.
Now, when I think about shelter for that kind of an, I think about multiplex. I think about back east, where they have housing. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, the
Yeah.
complexes and these is a sort of a controlled environment.
It is.
Because
Yep.
you know, because it's a multiplex, and they have to be
Right.
responsible to the privacy and crime and all that other good stuff. And so, but I don't hear that here.
Isn't that interesting? Well, so there's a little of it. So here's a couple
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
So I'm glad you mentioned developers.
Sure.
So Portland has just recently again passed more legislation to
Right.
allow for cottage clusters. So you've got a 5,000 square foot typical lot, and you can put 4 houses on them. So I was just in a training by someone who's part of the whole land use stuff. He's been a lobbyer, and he's part of the Home Builders Association and the Real Estate Association. And he was delighted to tell us that some of those houses on those cottage clusters were selling for $400,000 a piece, which did not make me happy at all.
That's right,
That's
right,
not
right.
the point.
That's
The point
right.
was 250
That's
or
right.
200 a piece.
Right.
I was not happy to hear that. So you're right, and developers are between a rock and a hard place largely because of how banks operate it, which is an entirely huge conversation.
yes, yes.
I don't even want to start down yet, except that it is a banking issue, a lot of it. So we have a situation where Portland and our governor has aggressively lately pushed the city to say, no, you're going to make more housing. And the whole state, you're going to make more housing. I don't
Right,
care if you
right.
like it or not.
Right.
So that's really good, but affordability, building houses that are really designed for the people who need them
Right.
rather than to maximize money. Again, some of that's the lending world that developers are caught in. However, for a couple years in a row, some years ago, there was a program, or there was an event in Portland called Build Small, Live Large.
Okay.
And it was really interesting. I went to it both years, lots of presenters, lots of panels. And these people were pushing for some of the things that are in place now in terms of let us build basically boarding houses. Portland, 80% of people lived in boarding houses.
Boarding, what do you mean?
Boarding houses. So boarding houses
Multiplex
yeah,
things.
lots of people lived there. There was a big kitchen. There was a community place. They went to work. They stayed there.
What happened to that?
Well,
The lobbyists, huh?
well, no, it was more the wealthy people who wanted the nice pieces of land for their big mansions, and they wanted to make sure that, you know, those undesirable people couldn't live in those neighborhoods, and so they tore down the boarding houses. And they passed single-family residence rules, which is why places like Irvington and Alameda, or, you know, a lot of these places have beautiful, nice homes and big places, and there's no missing middle housing, which is the things we need. The little courtyard plexes, and the fourplexes, and the single level little plexes, little courtyards. So legislation is good now. There's some good regulations. It's a lot about money. It's about people figuring out how to use what we have. I think use what we have to make more housing that's affordable for more people. So there's this whole phenomena. Are you aware of the village movement? Let me ask you that. Do you know about the village movement in Portland area?
No.
Okay. So the village movement started like, I don't know, maybe 18 years ago on the East Coast, where a bunch of older people
Oh,
said,
yeah, okay, I remember that part.
yeah, and they basically said, you know, we need help in our homes.
Okay.
And they formed a nonprofit organization of older adults to help older adults have a life, live well, not just live in your home, but have a social life and be able to do things for each other. So it's spread, and Portland has maybe 9 or 10 area villages. They're like virtual villages. Now, which almost nobody knows about.
Huh.
So the thing about them, so there's one in Northeast, which is Irvington, Alameda, Hollywood.
Huh.
Wonderful manager. That another person you should interview, Terry McKenzie. There are lots and lots of elderly, lonely women, mostly, sitting in these 3,000 square foot houses, barely able to pay that property tax and the insurance, and lonely, sitting around in these houses. And they don't really know what to do. Like, where do you go? How would you manage it? What about your stuff? How do you even start?
Are government folks that are they aware of that situation?
They don't seem to be, and this is the thing that I want to do is say, look, help people turn these into multiple family places that can be bought as either condominiums or co-ops. There's some really benefits to co-ops. I don't want to go way into it, but they do allow like-minded people to come together in a way that condos don't.
Well, you bring up another point from the standpoint of in these villages and aspect.
Yeah.
I think about what does it cost to get in there?
They vary. So North Star, which is North Portland, is probably, I think they have more of a sliding fee scale, and they're probably the lowest price. And I don't know if it's 300 and something a year. Some of them, like Oswego one, I think is 600 a year. They're not a year.
A year.
A year.
Oh, did you hear that? A year.
And they're not
not a month.
Nope. A year.
Wow.
Because they're not profits. They just, what they want to do, they don't have a bunch of staff. They have a lot of volunteers. And what they're all about is, it's like, the volunteers are like the daughter you wish you had who's happily unemployed and has nothing to do but help you put up your Christmas lights and take down your patio and pressure wash your deck and give you a ride and help you catch your cat and shove it into the thing so it can go to the vet.
Sounds like family, very much involved.
Very much so.
Like folks are involved, and the people who are involved actually have folks who are in need.
Yes, they do.
And I think that's some of the things that we're missing here. In fact, I hope the mayor is listening to this.
I hope so.
I hope you're listening, Wilson.
Me too. Hi. I met you.
Because the bottom line is that, here he is. He's trying to focus on homelessness.
I know.
And going to the ecumenical ministries and folks like that, and going to churches, but they've got that's their space.
Right.
But what you're talking about, that's something that I think should be of interest. And look at the numbers, the dollars and whatever, and would save taxpayers quite a bit of money because we're paying the monthly bills.
We are, yeah.
For all of the homeless folks, and they're moms and dads and cousins and folks and whatever. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I had to.
It's okay.
Get the point across on this piece.
Yeah.
But no one's talking about that.
I know. And personally, I don't mind. Some of my taxes go to help these people. Who else is going to help them?
Yeah, but look at the cost compared to what we're paying now.
Right.
See, that's what I was trying to compare.
Yeah, there's some really interesting numbers there. And the other thing, just to kind of hammer for a minute more on my piece here, is just the cost savings of modifying homes so people can live there instead of building new, instead of tearing them down and building new, or letting them sit.
For an example, what do you mean by that in terms of building them down, tearing them down and then building them over? What do you?
Okay. So one of the complaints and concerns that a lot of people had as these legislative rules came through, allowing more buildings to be built on a piece of land, was that lots of beautiful old homes would get torn down. And there has been a fair amount of that. And some of that, I remember walking through a woman's home down in Eastmoreland, and beautiful old Tudor, but the kitchen was like this wide, and there were doors this wide and doors this. It was just very, very poorly designed for actually living in it.
Well, during that time, that was it.
That was the time. So I understand somebody wanting to take some of these buildings down that are full of lead and asbestos and stuff, and it is heartbreaking because they're beautiful.
Yeah.
But that's what's happened. A fair amount happened, especially initially, where a beautiful old house would get torn down, the trees would get cut down, which breaks my heart, and then you'd have a McMansion made, a 5,000 square foot house with no yard and 2 people living in it, which I just find disgusting.
I hear you.
Or there'd be some duplexes and some threeplexes, which are just great, but they're tall and skinny. Those are Peter Pan houses. I'm never going to get old. Those houses were not built for you and me. And they're not built for the people who are in them now when they get older.
Yeah, I agree. I'm agreeing.
So I think it's fine to have some of those, but there's way too many. And again, this is politics. If you allow a builder-developer to build a fourplex that's called stacked flats, 1 floor, 1 floor, elevator, 1 floor, 1 floor. Now you've got 4 units. They're all single-level living. The developer can make some money, and people have some viable, vertical, missing middle housing. So here's a political thing. You can't use 1 elevator for 2 units. Not 1 residential elevator, which costs $35,000 anyway or more, because you've got 2 units sort of the powers that be somewhere thinks it's carved in stone that you have to use a commercial realtor, a commercial elevator, and now it doesn't pencil anymore for the builder. So these are political issues that are sort of not talked about, and they're considered regulatory, but they're political too. So I hope I'm not getting too far off the trail.
No. You're right on. You're right on target, because the developers is another issue that we don't talk enough about.
Yeah.
And they are still part of the economy.
Yep.
They pay the taxes. They pay a lot of the taxes aspect of it. So they need to be at the table.
They do.
To talk about this issue.
The small developers.
And then you
the
talk
big
about the two-person who basically have worked for their whole livelihood about building this mansion.
Yeah.
And acquiring this mansion.
Yes.
Okay. And they've got to be given some consideration.
I know.
From the standpoint of saying you can either do it maybe in the form of I guess they've got these complexes, if you will. Sometimes some are pretty expensive and whatever. They get various levels. In fact, thanks to Kelly, like 100. For instance, at the top of the line, as I saw, was $120,000 a year to live in this complex where you get treated this all the goodies, your activities,
senior living housing,
senior citizen housing. So that's cool. In fact, you can also almost apply it to the whole issue of the homeless situation for different levels.
Different levels.
Because the bottom line is that right now this is just a mindset.
Right.
Is that the folks who are living in a kind of the homeless situation that we're playing politics with right now are basically being told you don't have to pay anything.
Which is good because they don't have anything.
Yeah, no, but regardless. But my point is that they had something. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
In our society, it's a capitalistic society.
Yes, it is.
You have to say you got to pay something. So the key is that we need to define what that something is all about for different levels aspect of it, because a lot of folks are saying, well, hey, I can't afford my electric bills anymore today, and I can't do this, I can't do that. Well, guess what? The only way I can get out of it is to be homeless.
Yeah.
And I've talked to some of the folks on the street.
Right.
They said, the heck with it, I don't have to worry about anything.
Right.
And excuse the French, and the other thing is that how do I get in there without, well, the first system that we have when you break a crime or do the crime deal, or you do something wrong, is someone picks you up and you violate the law, and they go to the institution, go to jail.
Yeah.
And they clean you up,
right,
bathe you,
feed you,
and put a roof over your head.
Right, they do.
Right? There's no deterrent from saying you're not going to get hung or nothing like that.
No. Put in stocks, public stocks.
But the fact of the matter, and then now it's gotten down to the point where you don't spend that much time.
Or any.
And in fact, if you look at the facilities and you go to the facilities, you got all kinds of training, you got all sorts of activities. You can write a book.
Yeah.
You got lawyers. So my point is that we're trying to keep everybody happy, so to speak. And I think we need to just start. We need to start where, in all due respect, where the person is not paying. That way you can satisfy a number of folks. Seniors who are trying to keep their homes tax-wise, because I think anybody over 70 years old or so shouldn't, if they're living in a home, they shouldn't.
I agree.
But my point is that if each of those levels were taken care of, and right now Mayor Wilson is he's focusing on these homeless, trying to say we're going to get these folks off the streets and this, that, and the other. Well, if that's the case, then we got a system. And I'm just throwing something out right now, because and this is nonpartisan now. Let's get right.
This is
the
just
nonpartisan
people.
Aspect of it. I'm sitting there saying, well, in Clackamas, as far as the National Guard is concerned, the state militia, so to speak, it's the largest piece of real estate they have. Every area there's accommodation for that piece. It's the largest piece of real estate. Why couldn't they build something in a prefab kind of a situation with a fence around it?
Prefab's good.
So they can vet those folks that are there and do whatever's necessary to get them jobs, to do the whole deal, but vet them, to get them out of the environment where let's say 80 and 95% of the people are saying, I don't want to go downtown.
Right.
Oh, I don't want them in my neighborhood.
Oh, yeah, I know.
You know my point? And the cops come over here and get the person and this, that, and the other. So, and that's a small percentage of the folks.
Right. Right.
So I'm just using that as an example. And then we go to the county and say, well, hey, why are you spending so much money over there, when you can maybe start making some adjustment? Maybe not tax a person who is more of a senior or something.
Yeah, about that.
And not discourage a person from trying to achieve that goal of a home. It depends upon your job. If you go to college and you get a job, you're working towards getting my home, and put those in different kind of levels, and keep everybody happy to a certain degree. Because then, you see what I'm saying? So what do we do?
Yeah.
And that's why we're talking about this.
I know.
It's that's why you're here, because we're talking about real estate now. We're talking about people saying, look, I did everything that I could to get this big house on this big piece of property, and how are you going to satisfy me?
Well, and
that's my history. I'm just using it.
Sure, and and I'm glad you're saying that, because I tend to. So I took the luxury marketing training.
Yeah,
real estate luxury marketing training, and it was good. It was good for me to do. Now I jokingly mentioned my farm background, but I am I'm a farmer's daughter.
That's why I went that way.
There you go. So you try to tip me over.
You're good. You're
little
good.
Cow tipping.
You're good.
So it was interesting. It was a good training for me to do, to talk about sort of the mindset and the phases of life that people who come into wealth or are born in wealth, but a lot of people come into wealth, and how they see things and what they want. And I don't understand, and will probably never understand, the giant house thing for two people unless they've got several adult children with kids who are going to come and visit, or they're very social and they want to share their home and open their home to their community. Have as big a house as you want.
Or they just won the lottery.
Well, which usually doesn't work very well anyway.
I wouldn't know how to spend the money, but it's a lot of money, right?
It's a lot of money. I better build a big house. Or three.
Everybody's playing the lottery. At one point in time, it was a crime to gamble, right? Remember?
Boy, it's pretty prevalent now.
Now you can gamble all you want.
So the big house, I mean, you're right. I mean, people work for it. It's what they want. They have it. But I'll tell you, one of the drivers for these lonely people in Northeast Villages, he and his wife lived in Irvington, and they had a big old house.
Okay.
And they were successful, and they raised their children, and their children moved out, and then they kind of went, now what do we do? We work for this house. We've got this house. And they felt like they were not utilizing it very well. It was an underutilization of that property. They didn't want to just bang around in that house like a bee in a jar. And so they sold it, and they are actually living in some cooperative housing in Portland.
Okay.
So, and they know, this gentleman, his name is Abe, he knows several other people that are friends of his still from Irvington who are doing the same thing. They're sitting around in their houses, and they don't really have a vision of what to do. Their kids don't want their houses. Their kids don't even necessarily want their money. They could use some money. We could all use some money. But they sure aren't asking for it. They're mostly, they were brought in
with money
and with the education and with the cronies and the friends and the stuff.
I don't want to live a poverty situation. I want to excuse me, French, get me a joint and just sit in the corner.
That's a little different pathway. Yes.
I'm not knocking it. I mean, we got laws and
they do. But most of these people, their kids, a lot of them are fairly high achievers, and then some of them aren't.
Right.
But in my working of 20 years with older adults, I've had very little pressure from kids to get the money.
Okay.
Very little. I've also had very rare have my clients wanted their kids even in the conversation. Some of them have great kids and great cooperation. So it's just interesting. Now that's just me.
Right.
And I attract a certain kind of person.
Right. No problem.
And I'll never get rich as a realtor because I spend way too much time with my clients.
This is America.
Yeah. And I spend too much time listening. And hearing the stories and being friendly and helping them work out their vision. And in fact, I'll just mention, I have this other program I've created called Home Transition Guidance, which is really about the listening and the sitting down with people and helping them come up with a vision of where they might go or how they might stay.
That's neat.
And who can help. And then what is their financially? What's their place worth? What are things cost? What can they leverage?
Oh, wow.
And then a piece that's about the logistics. How do you even start? What do you do with your stuff and your mother's stuff and your kids'
Well,
stuff?
you're talking to the levels.
Yes, absolutely. So that's a program I'm offering now.
Oh, gee whiz. I'm
kind of excited about it.
I want you to stay in your lane. You may have to run for office, maybe for mayor.
Okay. I don't know. Can I walk my dog twice a day?
Maybe Wilson need to give you a call.
I'd love to talk with
Mayor
him.
he need to talk. But really, this is where we are today.
Right.
I saw a show yesterday.
Yeah.
Steve on Channel 2.
Okay.
Talking about the homeless situation. What are they going to do, et cetera.
Yeah.
They had no answers.
I know.
And Wilson was there, and then some of the folks that were there.
Yep.
And I could have done well, but my point is that we're in a crossfire. We're trying to figure out what can we do.
Yeah.
And that's why I have you here. That's another reason why I have you here, because you're dealing in that area of homes, housing.
Housing,
Roof over the head,
shelter.
just housing and shelter, the whole 9 yard. And some folks, and then you got lobbyists. The more money you have, the more can identify with a lobbyist.
Right.
And if you got maybe millions or billions,
Right.
you got access to the banks.
Yes, you do.
And when you start talking about comps in the area,
Right.
the banks are pretty well in control of that arena. And to a certain degree, I sort of blame them to a certain degree.
I do blame the banks in a lot of ways. Yeah.
When they give a loan to a house, a person to basically displace a low-income blue-collar house, because the person has already bought 2 houses in that area and wants to build a high-rise aspect of it,
Right.
they give them the money.
They certainly do.
And then all of a sudden, the comp impacts the person next door,
It does.
and the taxes go up.
It's
Okay,
it's an interesting set of documents.
You know what I'm saying?
You can't- you
but
really-
no one's talking about that, Rachel.
Well, that's I
We
know.
need to. We need to.
We do. I mean,
I don't want to displace anybody.
No.
You can have all the dreams you want. That's what America's all about.
Right.
But gee, let's be cautious about the stuff when we take it off the shelf.
Right.
That what the impact it's going to have.
Displacement is huge, and I think again that's part of my piece is really seniors first.
Yes, right.
And displacement there too. There are, I used to present at what was then, it used to be called the Hollywood Senior Center. Now it's a community for positive aging, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
And there were people coming to that little community by bus from Gresham because they couldn't afford to live where they'd spent their whole life in Hollywood. They had to sell because they couldn't do the property taxes.
That they paid $25,000 for the house.
Yes, exactly. And then they sold it, and they had to move out to Gresham to find a place to live, and they're busing back in to be with their community.
That's right. Or today, if they get the house today, $500,000, they can't even buy the house once they get the money.
Right. That's the thing. Unless they move out
You see what I'm saying?
to a community they don't know.
That's right.
That's
right.
And some of it's just been. I mean, I could talk forever about that too. But I think to your point, the relationship between banking, realtors, real estate, and housing. These are all separate things, and they all play in together.
Yeah, they do.
And I worked in finance with the lending side of it for 9 years, so I learned a lot about it, and I knew a lot anyway. So there's a lot of conversation here that needs to be understood, and
It's tough.
and I think the problem with all of it, and you said the word earlier, is, I forget what word you used, but basically it's at the heart of it, what needs to be talked about is housing and appropriate housing. And what I mean by appropriate housing is housing that honors the phase of life the person's in. Are they mentally ill? Are they brilliant but physically disabled? Are they 80 years old? Are they 60? Are they, what is your phase and state of life? Because housing that works for the person or the people, then they thrive. I mean, the whole end game of the goal of life for me is to keep positioning yourself so that you can be laughing and enjoying yourself and as healthy mentally and emotionally and physically as possible. So being strategic, and that's how I work with my clients, is thinking about, you want that house, but you really think you're going to be climbing stairs that much in your late 70s. I think you might look at a single level house. Well, where are the single level houses? Ooh, let's talk about stacked flats. But, so it's all interlinked, but at the heart of it needs to change. And unfortunately, it can be done at a very local level. And real estate is micro-local, neighborhood to neighborhood. It can be done with changes in regulations, which I really have to say I'm really happy about our governor and what she's done about pushing through some regulations that the NIMBYism, the not in my backyard, didn't like. But too bad. A lot of good things are being done to help that micro level. On a national level, on a global level, all of this needs to change too. That's a bite I can't even chew on yet. But here, on a smaller level, that's what needs to happen, is more understanding that we're all getting older. We have this large percentage of the population who just, sure, you can still climb a ladder, but if you fall now, it may be the end of your life, as opposed to when you fell when you were 40, you might be bunged up for a few weeks, you know, or whatever. So we have to start really honoring our phase of life, and it shouldn't be political. It shouldn't be. I really hate all the anti-aging crap. I got to tell you, I hate it. It shouldn't be discriminatory. It's just life, and our housing needs to reflect it.
You make a good point, because a lot of times seniors are ignored in our society. We need to spend a little bit, because everybody's going to get to that point.
That's right. Surprise.
That's right, because the bottom line, I can say right now, maybe I'm not in that position right now, but I know some seniors that have, like I said, came to this town, that's been in this town, and they live here, they were born here, they picked up the house for $20,000.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, it was great for a while.
Yeah.
Taxes were gone, and all of a sudden, boom, they're gone.
Yeah.
Now they're facing homelessness, and they're just looking for shelter.
Yeah.
And then that shelter, in many ways, they can't afford the rent.
Right.
And they I mean, you got a number of them,
right,
but in different categories.
Yes.
And you know, and I don't know. And then, like I said, the builders are there. They're building. That's their piece. The banks are there. They blah blah blah, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the people, that's the community.
That's
and they were in that community,
right?
And you would have thought that maybe someone needed to spend a little bit more time. That's what you're doing, and that's why I think we need to bring you up front a bit.
I would love it.
Frankly. Hopefully the governor understands that, because even when she was talking about the housing bill, she didn't spend enough time talking to what we're talking about today. I've known Tina. She used to live up in North Portland.
She did.
In North Portland.
Yeah.
But guess what? She had a home. She had a home, but she recently sold it.
She did. Yeah, I think I heard that. Yeah.
She sold it.
Yeah.
She didn't necessarily want it to move. I mean, she right, and I know the rest of them. So we just need to spend more time, and I think that if we can maybe focus more in the senior citizen arena, those are the moms and the pops. See, get mom and pop talking a little bit more to the kids.
Oh yeah, like, wake up.
Yeah, hey, look, wait a minute. Let's stop for a moment. We got to get back at the table. Maybe we need to get more seniors elected. Maybe make sure that we have a spot. Maybe in the city council, for instance, just at least one senior citizen should be sitting at the table, elected to deal. So get things back to table, because the young folks are making the money. They graduated from school in some cases. Some of them blue collar. We got blue collar and whatever. But the fact of the matter is, we're ignoring their futures, because they're going to be getting in the same situation.
I need to rant for just a moment.
Go on.
Bike lanes.
Bike lanes. Oh.
We have lots and lots of people in city government thinking that they're saving the world with bike lanes. But we're still here.
Yep, that's right.
Those of us who are older are still here. We're not going to start riding the bicycle. And the people taking care of us in our homes are not going to get there by bicycle.
You're thinking about Sam Adams now, aren't you?
Well, that was a lot of it, but it's going on. I live Division and Powell,
right,
in Holgate, are laden with bike lanes. Nobody on them.
That's right.
And I love the idea of bicycles, but they're just stepping over this quarter of the population almost, who are not going to be saved by bike lanes. Well, we are going to drive.
In all due respect, that's my next platform, because I'm my boy. What about it? I need a tricycle.
No, that's not bad. See?
I need a wider job.
Maybe we need to go back to horse.
Maybe you do the whole street. I need a four cycle.
Well, there we go. We need to be running around in four-wheelers.
That's right.
Racing each other.
That's right.
Down the street.
Maybe just walk. But no, it is an issue though. That is an issue. And what do you do? I mean, sure, it's nice right now.
Yes, it is.
But what happened with the weather here? Can seniors get out there, slide all over the place right now?
No,
but anyway,
they're just skipping, really focusing on us. We're here. We're not going to just tip off and vanish. We're here, and a lot of younger people just don't get it because they kind of can't. That's where they need our voices.
They can't. I want them to live that long life, because I did mine.
Yeah,
they did also.
I did mine.
But let's keep this. The understanding about those futures,
right?
So when they're making decisions, even the lobbyists, even the people who are the millionaires and the billionaires, you're going to get older one day.
That's right.
And so when you get in that hospital,
that's right.
And that nurse may have come down from whatever cleaning that pot and pan.
Yes.
You got my point?
That underpaid.
That's right. The person with to make the money is not going to be sitting there changing the pans.
No, they're not.
You
but
understand
they
what I'm
may
saying?
need the same help
That's
as the
right.
person with
That's
no
right.
money.
In most cases, you want to talk to someone, and the only person you're going to be able to talk to
Yeah.
is that kind of that person.
So, can we talk for a minute about senior housing?
Let's go talk about
Yeah.
it. That's good.
So, I worked for 6 years on contract with the senior housing community. And it was very, very interesting. I came into real estate feeling kind of negative about real estate, and I ended up really liking it. And yes, it can be totally capitalistic, and it can be, I don't know. I mean, I think it's a better industry than what I thought it was, and it's evolved a lot. About the time I came in, a lot of women came in out of hospitality and out of teaching and out of nursing. There's some wonderful people in that industry, and then there's people who are just sharks, So be that as it may, I went into working with senior living with the same attitude, like kind of negative, and I guess I learned some things. I learned about different levels. There's like skilled nursing, and there's they used to call them foster homes for seniors is another name for them now, but small communities, or you're in a little family setting. And there's independent living. There's independent living. There's places called RSFs, and they're like residential. You can come in independence, and as you need help, it's just added to your service package. And then you can move into assisted living if you really need that, or you can go to memory care. So there's these different levels, and they have different price points, and then different companies cater to different price points of people. It's all, as far as I'm concerned, rather too expensive. And I read some of the blogs because I worked in it. I have some of the background, and there's a lot of hand-wringing and head-scratching about how are we going to make this industry more accessible to the actual people at the actual level of money they have, but so far they haven't. There are a few places that have become employee-owned. And that changed those numbers. And that's great, but again, that's sort of not very popular in our capitalist country. So I learned a lot about the industry. I learned a lot about the people moving in. I worked for Willamette View, which is a continuing care retirement community. They're sort of the premier kind of senior living. They might be $125,000 a year. There's a buy-in that makes you a member. It makes you part of that place. You're one of the owners now. It's a chunk of money. And then there's monthly fees, and they change with your needs. And they're lovely. I loved that place. I send people to them anytime I can, and I would go there if I could ever afford it, which I probably won't. And I will never afford it. So it was an interesting experience for me to walk. One of the neat things about it was helping people understand that you can downsize out of this house you think you need into a much smaller place and have a much bigger life because you're around other people. You're playing cards. You're walking out and having lunch together. You're practicing your Spanish skills. You're watching a TED Talk. You're taking glass blowing. You're taking a ride downtown to the opera that you wouldn't have done. So that goes right back to the thing I'm talking about, creating kind of living environments like that right where we have the houses already, house to house, big houses that are underutilized. They're beautiful. I don't want to see them torn down. But if they're redesigned internally so they function to bring people together, then they can share the cost of home care or foot care or a ride or hiring a stripper or whatever they want to do together. They can come together and have a little cooperative capacity there and have somebody to eat dinner with or not, have a little fire out back, whatever you want to do. So these are the things that are really at the heart of what I think needs to be dictating what we call housing and what we call real estate. And both of those terms are a little co-opted. So home, maybe. Well,
and it's a complex situation we're in.
It is, yeah.
But at least we're talking about it.
Yes, we are. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate the opportunity to sort of rove across a vast array of elements that are all tied together. They're not, so I can't think in a silo. That's not my brain.
Well, in all due respect, Rachel, I think we've said a lot.
Yeah,
and I think that, with your background and Kelly and folks like that, and my background, in your because your lane, you've got all these entities in your lane, and I think it would be great if you were able to pick these individuals and bring them on, and
I'd love to.
you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
In fact, to make sure that we get down to the bottom line, you'll be the interviewer. You'll sit in this seat.
Oh my goodness.
I'll sit behind the camera with Kelly.
Uh-oh.
And then we'll let you interview someone. You know, like the banker. You know, the banker, like you're saying. You know,
Right.
The realtor, the developer.
Right.
Bring a developer in.
So many of these people.
But the idea is that we don't want to eliminate because everybody pays taxes. You know what I mean?
We're all in it.
We all have to pay rent.
We do.
We all
We have to live, and it
we all
costs
have
money
pay
to
rent.
live.
And if you win,
Costs money.
and if you win the lottery, you can buy a spot over there. Mm-hmm. You can
Go
build
for
yourself, no problem. And so we need to get people whole again. Mm-hmm. If you're either blue collar or white collar or whatever, you know what I mean?
It's home. You got to have a home.
Excuse the French, and get off the issue of race.
Oh my God.
If we can get rid of that situation, that would be just great.
Oh.
They can all join the Marine Corps, and then no problem.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. See, that's something that I didn't know about. It's like,
They
okay.
get a brand, you know. If I was a recruiter, you know, got my point. And we had the draft system at that point in time.
Yeah.
And we had a place where young folks went, and everybody was on the same pot, whether you're
Right.
rich or poor.
Right.
And I've got friends along that line or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in being rich.
Yeah.
I just want to just be Bruce. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And as I develop, so yeah, I'd like to see if you might be interested in something like that.
I'm very interested in it, and I think that's just wonderful of you. I appreciate it so much for our community.
Right.
I mean,
But-
it isn't about it. You know,
Yeah.
is it about
It's
me? Well, yeah,
community.
I'd love to do it,
It's
but
about
it's
all of
about
us.
all these people who need to
all
know
of
these
us,
things.
all of us, rich, poor, whatever.
Yeah.
But everybody needs to feel comfortable about that level.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
feel
this
good.
is where I'm at.
This
Yeah.
is where I'm at, and I can enjoy, and I got facilities within my community that I can
Right.
visit. I don't necessarily have to go here.
Right.
I don't have to go there. I feel comfortable, and the person with the big yard and this, that, and the other, maybe with the city planners for that matter.
Yep.
When they start planning the earth, blah 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 routine
Yep.
with the city, they can think about that and say, okay, only in this area here.
Sure.
You got my point?
Right.
You know, if you make billions or whatever, but we got so many folks over here, and if a person is the person that's there now goes, then the other bidder comes in, or whatever. But my point is that
Yeah.
we can just talk about
Be
the situation.
humans with each other.
That's right. That's right.
Be
That's what-
reasonable. Keep the vested interests
right.
of NIMBYism out of it.
That's right.
And it shouldn't be
No, that's right.
impossible.
That's right. That's right.
you
That's
know.
right.
And that's how I've always worked as a seniors real estate specialist. Is let's just be strategic.
That's right.
Let's look at it straight. What do you want? What matters to you? Let's see what we can do. And then sometimes I've had to be a hard nose to get people to take it serious. Take their own.
Well, see, that's the
Care,
that's the
seriously.
uniqueness about bringing all these folks on. Because the bottom line is that they're all parents.
Yeah, in some way or another,
They got
most
kids.
of they are. Yeah.
We relate to that part. That's the level.
Yeah.
And I think that if we bring the seniors back to the table
Yeah.
within our system,
Gotta have-
that would really help out the situation. And then it's a little bit more knowledgeable.
Right.
And because now these are sons and daughters and relatives and this, that, you know what I'm saying? That point? So consequently, so my point is that we want to focus on the seniors.
I love
by,
it.
By keeping the senior situation and educating the young folks, then the other folks who are going to be coming around who are presently here today, and we can interview them and talk about them from a senior citizen standpoint. That's why you be sitting in this table, and I can sit there too. 'Cause I happen to be one too, but I'm
know.
in a different situation. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I think that's what I would like to share,
Yeah.
and hopefully you would consider that.
I'd love it, and I have such great people
Good.
to bring forth.
Good,
I mean,
good,
that's
good.
the thing, and
Good.
easy to talk to, authentic,
Okay.
kind,
Okay.
understandable
Okay.
people. I mean, that's the real
Okay.
thing too.
So what we'll do then to begin with is that we'll talk about the seniors first. We'll
Yes.
educate them about the seniors, right?
Yeah.
About the various levels.
Yeah, the different sort of
That's right.
places people are at in our
Get
community.
those programs out. Bring Kelly in because she's going to be part of that whole piece.
Absolutely.
Again, the redeveloping the present homes
Right.
of folks. And get that squared away, and then at least the folks, and especially and the population, will be given an opportunity of, gee, I may have a way out.
And you know, I know we're kind of running out of time here. I know that
We can get you.
the people I mentioned, the older adults who are
Right.
lonely in those houses, would
Right.
probably love to have a dialogue about what scares them, what stops them,
exactly.
what frightens them, and then have conversations
Right.
with people like Kelly too about,
Right.
well, what if we could do this?
Right.
What about that? And then people who can come in and say, yes, this is how you do this.
Yep.
Home desires, and so we can have an actual educational dialogue for people who are following your show and people who are at the table,
Probably everybody.
and tease it out. We can be working it out on there.
And we'll be sending this stuff to the commercial media, see?
Okay.
To let them get a feel. And there's
Love
a
it.
possibility they might want to do something too. I don't have any problem. You copycat any day
That's
of the
right.
week.
That's right. Take it.
You
It's
know,
yours.
I'm just sitting here just trying to communicate.
Yeah,
And educate.
exactly. What
Because
fun.
I'm getting there, so to speak. And it
Yeah.
would be nice to have they were doing that. So that's kind of like what I'd like to do.
I think that's lovely.
With you, if that's cool with you.
Yes,
Got
I'll
me?
do that. I will do that.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds good. Well, let's see. We got about 3 minutes left, and
Okay.
you want to say anything about some of the things that you're doing now currently?
Thank you. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Yeah.
Good.
So again, I'm Rachel Hemmingson, and I am a seniors real estate specialist, have been for about 20 years. My real estate group that I'm affiliated with is Property Group Northwest, and I've worked for a number of companies, larger companies like Windermere and small. This is a small company, women-owned. There's women and men working
really?
there, but
Okay.
younger people and lovely. And the woman who ran it and owns it, she worked for, first of all, she followed her daddy around, who's a contractor, fixing things. So she just got into structure and building. And then she worked as an assistant in various real estate firms, and she didn't like how the realtors were treated by their firms, and she thought she could do better, and she does. She's just great. I can't talk enough about her. So she's a great resource for me because she works with people. She works a lot more with developers and more wealthy people in big houses, and so I have her to support me so that when I help people in those positions, I can do a better job. It's very collegial, very collaborative. And then I did work as a loan officer. I loved it, and I just got out of it because it was just too much paperwork and training and classes and continuing ed and software and hardware. So I created a home transition guidance program. I'm just rolling it out. And again, as I mentioned, it's really about, okay, you've realized the home isn't working. What do you want to do?
Right.
What's possible?
Right.
What could you afford? What loans are out there? How do you work with a financial advisor if you don't have one, or if you do? What do you do with your stuff? How do you sequence? Sequence is huge. So I love that work. I'm just rolling it out. I'm mostly introducing it through elder law attorneys who are lovely, and estate planning attorneys, and divorce attorneys, financial advisors, and people kind of in a position where often older adults in particular will come to them first and say, I'm thinking about this. So that's what I'm hoping to do, is build those referrals out, and hopefully I'll get more real estate work out of it too, but the kind that I want, where I can really sit with people and be part of their life, not just their real estate.
But but I guess the point we were trying to make, this is not an ad per se, but the fact of the matter is that there's an entity like you now
Yeah,
that's within that sphere.
exactly. And there are
It's
other
not
really
about-
good people
it's just about
too.
somebody just pressing you down and basically, where's the money?
Yeah,
Kind of
no.
routine. It's going to be really great. It's going to be great.
It's needed.
This has been it's been very interesting. And folks, hey, tell your friends and get them to look at the show. You can check it out on YouTube, or if not that, you got the schedule. And if not that, you can give me a call. You got my number. I think you do.
Call them.
Okay, but you've got Rachel's too. But thank you very much for being with us. I think this has been really enjoyable.
Thank you, me
Rachel,
too.
this has been fantastic, and I hope to see you in the very near future, because we may be doing something next week.
Okay,
Is that good with you?
yes,
Okay.
thank
good.
you.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, back to what you would believe in. As George Page used to always say, back to what you believe in. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your weekend.
Nice.